All right, we are in Guaporé in the Mini in Automobilista 2. I've never even heard of this track. I'm not sure where it is. It sounds Indonesian. And another great start from pole. My standing starts in this car are not great. But I don't know. I think that doing a pretty decent job here. I'm starting to figure out the front wheel drive cars. Although I suspect that the way I'm trying to drive this car would not be good for long-term driving because I'm probably chewing up the front tires pretty hard. For a short 20-minute race, that's less important. Where is Guaporé? I'll look that up some point. So there was a comment on, I think, last week's video. A guy saw one of my shorts and said it's a shame he's playing at 30 frames per second. His racing games really come alive at 60 frames per second. I can definitely tell you that Automobilista 2 is pumping out right at or above 100 frames per second on the regular. I do know that the camera motion in this sim is a little different than some other sims, is you're actually seeing the bounce and the eye deviation based on what would happen in a real car as it moves around, which can look like stutters. By default, when I record at 60 frames per second, so that's the best you're ever going to see on YouTube. And beyond that, if your connection goes low, you're going to see some stutter just by virtue of the video dialing back what it's being delivered to your device. So I don't know what that guy was talking about, but if anybody sees performance issues that they identify in the video, and you can definitively tell me that it isn't your own network connection that's causing some delivery problems, you're on a good network and you're looking at the video and it doesn't look its best, I definitely want to hear about it. But just throwing shade on the stream because you think it's funny isn't very cool. I haven't gotten any other comments similar to that one, so I assume that it was isolated incident of some sort on his end and he just didn't realize it in making the comment. But I'm open to suggestions and reports of problems and things that I need to improve. I certainly know that I'm battling a little bit with my audio balance right now, as I've changed the whole underlying audio engine, and I'm changing kind of how things are pathing dynamically to make it sound a little bit better. I turned the gain volume here lower because it was a little overbearing, so it's a little lower than my last video, and it may be too low now compared to my voice, so I'm going to tinker around with that some more. Like right now I've got my game audio at about 50%, and I can take it up to 55% or even 60%. And I'm not sure if that is better or worse or the same. We'll just leave it here for a while and you can tell me. This car may not be the best basis for judgment, as it's kind of a quieter car in general. May also just need to dial back the gain that I've added on my mic because it wasn't loud enough, so I added some mix increase of gain to it, and it may be too hot. So again, feedback is always welcome. I may not always listen to the feedback, but I definitely accept it. I like this little track. I don't know, it reminds me of something that I've driven before, and I can't quite put my finger on what. So I don't think I've ever driven this track before. It feels a little bit like some British tracks that I've driven. But it's got a good flow to it, and I feel like I'm pretty quick here. Again, figuring out the front-wheel drive car a little bit to know how and when to brake and how and when to get back on the accelerator has been kind of a fun experiment. Because it doesn't want to pull you through the corners. It wants to work with you to be fast. It's never been my foray or my preference to drive front-wheel drive cars. Probably to my detriment. Probably. I've had mostly rear-wheel drive cars. I've had one all-wheel drive car. Scrub there. Came in a little too hot. It's like a little chili bowl here where if you just can keep in the throttle and go through that turn. line through there. Almost exclusively a third and fourth gear track, which I think is what makes it kind of fun to drive. It's got almost a NASCAR feel to it in terms of the flow. You don't have to do a lot of speed change here. Autocross instructors used to say, you paid for the whole tire, you may as well use it. So I am definitely using these tires up. I think that my qualification time was 1:14.7 something. I don't think I hit that here in the race, but I'm bouncing right around 1:15 pretty consistently. Scrubbing through there slowed me down. can see the back end of the pack. 4 minutes to go. I don't know if I'm going to catch him or not. Might make the race more interesting. Lost all that time in the last corner. That's kind of weird. Wondering if he's hurt. Definitely doing a number on the front tires. Which is okay for a short race, but if this was a longer endurance race, I would probably need to work at that. If anybody has suggestions about better techniques for front-wheel drive cars and not burning the fronts up so much, love to hear it. One of the things I found is I was either brutally slow or I kill the front tires. And there's no middle ground for my driving technique at present. Maybe there's some nuance to it that I just don't understand or don't know. So if you have suggestions, I don't know why I went down to third there. I think mostly because I'm catching these guys and I don't really need to be catching them. This lap and one more. I do like this Mini better than any other front-wheel drive car that I have driven. I haven't driven a lot, but I've driven a few. I've actually driven the Kia in iRacing, believe it or not. the track. I do like it quite a bit. Like I said, I've never driven it before. I've never even heard of it before. But it's fantastic. A lot of fun to drive. I highly suggest you give it a whirl. An Automobilista 2. Definitely think it's best suited to this kind of car, where it's a little bit slower. So you're able to kind of really focus on your lines. It's a good line track. Kind of learning, where you need to brake and turn in to hit that perfect line through the corners. Not that I was anywhere near perfect in this, but it's a really, really good track. I don't know why, I keep feeling like it reminds me of Snetterton or Donington. And I don't know if that's just me, like, I don't know. But it's definitely a fun track. Highly recommend it. Hope you have some fun. Hope you enjoyed this race, and definitely want you to come back for the next one. We'll take a look here and see what my fastest lap time was here. And, looks like my best time was in the 114s. I didn't think I'd gotten down into the 14s. 14.868. So that's pretty decent. I kind of blasted the field, to be honest. That may need some more adjustment. Anyway, appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye now.
Spaß macht Rennsport.